Well, thank you for joining us. We are looking at pigs. we're examining what is a pig, because if you have a pig in your life, you shouldn't. Now, again, I don't recommend you do something radical all of a sudden, but nothing good comes from dealing with a pig. Why? Because Jesus said there wasn't going to be anything good from coming from a pig, and if anybody knows, Jesus would know. So if you go to church or you're faith-based, I just have to tell you, it's time to start house cleaning and get the pigs out of your life. But it's true. Okay, so what is a pig? A pig is a selfish person. What are the characteristics of a selfish person? Someone who has become, or what is the characteristic of someone who has become, or who is well on their way toward becoming a pig? Because piggishness, that's my new word, piggishness is by degree. You can have a little tiny piglet who's morphing. You feed the pig, and guess what's going to happen? Or you cut them some slack, and now they're going to go all over everybody's yard consuming things. Okay, so what's a pig? What are some indicators? It's all about them. Pretty simple, huh? It's all their way or the highway. Okay, if you're dealing with someone like that, I'll save you 25 sessions of therapy. Time to leave. Now, some of my clients, if anybody's listening, don't leave me. But really, if you think you can enlist their support and agreement in your new ideas or maybe changing, they're naturally going to resist. Why? Because they like it this way. They've been benefiting from your willingness to have no boundaries, no voice, to give and give and give. They've been taking and taking, and you expect them to do what? Why are they going to do that? The relationship has not been about love, has it? It's been about them. And you're asking a pig, that's interesting, you're asking the pig to do the impossible, to not be a pig. Now, you're going to give them the opportunity to not be a pig. And the nice thing about a pig is this. If they really wanted not to be a pig, they could not be one. So treat someone as capable as they are. They are not an old dog. Now, they're a dog if they're a pig, right? But you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And you think you love them because you refer to them as an old dog? No, you want to treat someone as capable as they are. That is loving. So you raise the bar. People always can change unless there's actual organic issues going on, okay? Here's another sign of a pig. They never sincerely say please or thank you. They never go out of their way for you. They act as though you should be thankful for them. And this is with parents. If you have a parent that tells you you should be thankful that you were born, and the alternative would be what? Meaning once they become pregnant, you should be thankful that your mother didn't abort you. After all, you didn't ask to be born, right? Who decided to do something to where now she was pregnant? So suddenly you're to be thankful that your mother did the right thing and brought you to term. See how tricky? Pigs can be tricky. And a pig can be either gender, by the way. Okay. They act as though you are an afterthought. You're never in the forefront of their mind. That just doesn't happen. That is a person who is self-absorbed. That's a pig. Okay. They act as though you are an inconvenience. If you are around someone that makes you feel like you have to apologize that you even exist, why are you with them? Now, I'm not getting down on you. I'm just saying it's time. It's time to cut the pig loose. It's time to free yourself because it's not spiritual. God doesn't want you there. You have believed a myth. Another indicator, they are blind to how hard you work to make them happy by all the times you've gone out of your way to say nice things and do nice things for them. They are discouraging rather than encouraging. I either am pouring life and encouragement. I'm either pouring life and courage into someone, or I am sucking it out of them. If I am sucking courage out of them, I am discouraging. Paul says to fathers, do not embitter or discourage your kids. It is not spiritual to allow a person that is bent on discouraging others. It is not spiritual to keep them around. It is time to show them the door, at the very least in separation. Why? Because they need to know that it is not okay to be a pig. And if you continue to harbor a pig, that's different than the Bay of Pigs, harbor a pig. No. But if you continue to harbor a pig, then the outcome is predictable. You might even get little piglets then. The kids might start mirroring that. They rain on your parade. They string you along. They treat you like poop, then expect you to clean it up. So you become the super duper pooper scooper. I saw a basketball game. Donkey basketball in a high school gym, and it was basketball on donkeys. I kid you not. And the hooves, they had little pads on their hooves. Kind of interesting. I guess it was a different form of polo. But guess what they would have? They would have guys with little brooms and buckets, and on the buckets they had spray painted "Super Duper Pooper Scooper." So I've always remembered that. So do you find that you are someone's super duper pooper scooper? Well, it's time to stop. You don't have to. Did you sign up for that? Well, okay, if you did, maybe time to renegotiate the contract. Okay, so they treat you like poop. They expect you to clean it up with a smile on your face and a happy attitude. They demand physical affection on their terms in ways that satisfy them but leave you empty, used, and resentful. They are not brain dead. They know what they're doing. They will make it your responsibility to ensure they are happy. They expect you to simply sit there and take it for however long they feel inclined to lecture you or criticize you. That's a pig. They make light of your choices and your preferences. That's called chipping away at your soul. That is poor stewardship on your part. The Lord wants you out. He wants you set free. What are you waiting for? If the Son sets you free, you are free indeed. Jesus says, get rid of the pig. It's time to leave. They hold you emotionally hostage by their threats of withholding their approval, and ultimately will give you the silent treatment or shun you. That's a pig. They make you responsible for their drinking or other things. Only a pig does that. They manipulate supposed biblical truths. So for those of you that had people in your lives, especially parents, that were hypocrites, they manipulate supposedly biblical truths or Bible verses to their advantage to keep you in line, to keep you down, to keep you stuck, to keep you under their thumb, to keep you their slave, to keep you without your intuition, because they will tell you what's right. Really? They say God will be displeased with you. God doesn't want you to do that. God wants you to do what they want you to do, because happy mother means God's approving of that. So she will become the arbiter of God's truth. She will tell you when God is pleased with you. Really? We ought to call her a little Pope mom. Okay, sorry. They make you walk on eggshells, right? A dysfunctional family or dysfunctional relationship is one that is tension-reducing but never tension-resolving. So somebody is being the black hole person, requiring everybody to do what they say, or it's all this stuff that we're listing, by the way, or all hell will break loose. So Tension is reduced, but now the thing, the elephant in the middle of the room, gets swept under the carpet and everybody gets to tippy-toe around it lest the pig explode or make everybody's life miserable. Okay? They make you take a deep breath before you talk to them or before you walk through the door. How powerful is that? If you have to get up the courage to go talk to them, what's that about? That is not a loving relationship. That's a pig. They love to stir the pot. They love to poke and tweak. They love to see you uncomfortable, and they love to see you squirm. That is a pig. That's a fool. You should not be around that kind of person. They look for the negative and capitalize upon it. They are quick to point out others' flaws. With them, it's always something, and it's never enough. They use your vulnerabilities against you. They'll make you the brunt of jokes, and especially calling you, "You're so naive," or "You're really sensitive. You're just like overly sensitive." That's a pig that does that. They keep you down or pop your bubble. They call it being practical. Instead of helping you dream big, which they call impractical, naive, a silly notion, stupid, out of God's will, irresponsible, which causes you to change your major or to give up your dreams. They are dissatisfied, they are discontented, and they are destructive, meaning they tear you down. They're disingenuous in order to manipulate, and they treat you like Cinderella. Do you remember the story of Cinderella? All she wanted to do was to be a part of the family. She kept working and working, and the one time that she was ever going to be able to have the possibility of a way out, the possibility of a better life, what did they do? What did the wicked stepmother do? And those sisters?
My dear girls, to see you like this, it makes me believe one of you might just snare the prince. And to think I have 2 horses in the race. I dare say no one in the kingdom will outshine my daughters. Cinderella.
It cost you nothing. It was my mother's old dress, you see, and I took it up myself.
Ooh la! Cinderella at the ball. No one wants a servant for a bride.
After all I've done.
I don't want to ruin anything. I don't even want to meet the prince.
No, and you won't. Because there's no question if you're going.
But all of the maidens of the land are invited, by order of the king.
It is the king I am thinking of. It would be an insult to the royal personage to take you to the palace dressed in these old rags.
Rags? This was my mother's.
Oh, sorry to have to tell you, but your mother's taste was questionable. This thing is so old-fashioned, it's practically falling to pieces. Oh, the shoulder's frayed. Oh, it's falling to bits.
It's a ridiculous old-fashioned joke.
How could you?
How could I otherwise? I will not have anyone associate my daughters with you. It would ruin their prospects to be seen arriving with a ragged servant girl. Because that is what you are. And that is what you will always be. Now mark my words. You shall not go to the ball.
So let's pretend Cinderella, later on, she finds herself depressed. As a matter of fact, the next day. I mean, Cinderella has all the indicators of depression. She would have all the indicators of anxiety. She would have difficulty sleeping. She would have difficulty eating, difficulty concentrating. She would feel like she's not doing enough. She would have a hard time being still. Let's say she's finally moved away and she's on her own. And let's say she's on the job And the boss may start to get a little grumpy, which he shouldn't, but let's say it happens. Guess what she will fall into as far as an automatic mode or way of being? What is she going to do? She's going to start replicating in her current life what she was programmed, as it were, to do. It became second nature. But the question is this: is how Cinderella, or was how Cinderella was treated, how she was treated, and what that wicked stepmother said to her, was it true? Because what happens if Cinderella believes it? That she's not eligible to go to the ball. She's not eligible for a prince. Well, who is she eligible for? And what would happen if she finally leaves home and she sees a prince? And the prince actually starts to treat her kindly. It might feel so uncomfortable that she might actually sabotage the relationship. So she might, without even knowing it, she might have run off all sorts of princes, though there's not very many out there, quite frankly. Well, who's she left with? A bunch of toads that she's trying to kiss to turn into a prince. So the power of one's past can leave an impression, especially if you were raised by pigs, if you were around pigs. Those women, that stepmother and those two stepsisters, were pigs. And can you imagine if she felt obligated to go back for Christmas? Guess what she would do? I'll tell you what she would do. If she ate, she would just stuff her face. If she drank, she'd drink herself silly. Why? Anything to keep the truth from coming out. What she would need someone to come alongside her and say, do you know you really don't need to go back and be around those pigs, those people? But if she felt obligated, she would be subjecting herself to a bunch of pigs, and she wouldn't need to. But that's the power of myths. There's another myth. Without you, a selfish person wouldn't know what to do. They'd be lost. They wouldn't make it. They might even die. The likelihood of them dying is probably pretty slim. Why? Because they love themselves too much. But they might say it. As a matter of fact, there are some parents where they didn't intend it, but now they have some kids, some older teens or young, let's say young adults, who now have gotten into a lot of stuff, including the trans movement. And how many parents now are hearing something along the lines of this? If I don't get my cross-sex hormones, I'm going to die. I'll kill myself. How many wives have heard that from their husbands? They make them responsible for their own life. And I'm here to tell you, you are not responsible for someone else's life. Will it be sad? Of course it will. But you are not responsible. You do not need to play God. That is not a good reason to stick around. That is a myth. It's not true. Are they your dependent child? That's different. Are they incapacitated or slumped over in a wheelchair? Okay, that's different. Meaning you need to take care of those people. A dependent child, someone that's truly incapacitated, someone that has Alzheimer's or has a brain injury. Sorry, I'm just, and Charlene, hello. Are they incapable of picking up a phone or using a computer? Okay, if that is true, okay, then you may need to extend yourself a little bit more, as long as they're grateful. Okay, but if they truly have a degenerative illness, then they really aren't responsible for what they're doing or saying. You'll be able to find that or determine that by how consistent they are. If they can turn it on and turn it off when it benefits them in front of other people, then they are not handicapped? Okay. Have they become emotionally handicapped? Speaking of that, have they become emotionally handicapped or rescued from their need to grow and get outside of their comfort zone by your love? You may be handicapping them. Of course, someone's going to take the path of least resistance. You may be loving them to death and not even know it. The little caterpillar is supposed to struggle to get out of the chrysalis so it can begin to flap its wings. If you treat someone as incapable when they really are, you are, in a way, a case could be made, you are participating in their demise. You're certainly allowing a pig to stay a pig. Okay? Love gives another person what they truly need, not what they want. People need an opportunity to develop. People need an opportunity to get outside their comfort zone. The mother eagle or bird does what with the little chicks? It helps them, right? Helps them fly. Have you been loving them to death by incapacitating that person, enabling their selfishness, or reinforcing to them that they can't make it without you? You're not omnipotent. You can trust that God will be big enough to work with them. But maybe it's also about time that they start experiencing some pain. Okay, no pain, no gain. Do you need to be needed so that you keep them emotionally small or young, or you actually incapacitate them? So sometimes you can have someone that is becoming a pig because you're feeding them in such a way that you're incapacitating them. And so now it's a mutually sick relationship where the person that's morphing into the pig becomes increasingly disrespectful. So the only way to change that is what? Is to stop. Love helps another person become their best and reach higher and further than they ever thought possible. Love sets another person free, not enables them to remain stuck and emotionally handicapped or dependent. So if in doubt, and you're not sure if the person's a pig, then guess what? You get to give them the opportunity to grow. Oh, they'll scream and they'll kick and they'll cry and they'll give you all sorts of reasons why they why? Because they've become used to this. Well, that's not healthy. Another way to discern whether or not they're a pig. So if in doubt, right, if they are incapacitated, that's one thing. But if you're not quite sure whether or not they're a pig, you can always discern from what we've already talked about. But if you think, well, maybe they still have some room to grow, well, then guess what? Give them the room to grow. But either way, you do not need to stay in that situation. And another way to discern whether or not they're a pig are they appreciative or unappreciative? That's different than a bad day. We might call it, well, they're just cranky. Okay, what do we mean by that? If that's become their disposition, then it's not cranky. It's called a pig. Would you ever give yourself an excuse to be that way? Okay, probably not. Hopefully not. Well, haven't they lived with you and seen your example? Have you seen them turn it on and turn it off around other people? Are they that way around other people? If they're 100% that way, then all the more, in a way, like Scrooge. Remember, Scrooge ended up being by himself, and that was the only way that he ever came to his senses, because nobody was rescuing him. So sometimes the pain that we experience is self-imposed. Why? Because maybe God's trying to get that person's attention. Maybe he's shooting some arrows because of the person's hurtfulness. Maybe God is shooting some arrows at that person, yet you are standing in the way by enabling, and therefore you stand in between what God is trying to do with that person and the person. So the pain you're feeling and experiencing may also be what is intended for that person, but you're absorbing it. And you don't need to. And as a matter of fact, you need to stop. Now, there's a way to do that methodically, and we'll continue to talk about that. But you first have to become persuaded whether or not the person is a pig, whether or not they can help being a pig. And trust me, a pig can help being a pig. How do you know? Because it's a choice. A person becomes a pig on purpose. He's a purposeful pig. Nobody doesn't become that way without knowing they're becoming that way, because they have a mechanism within them called a conscience, and they've been violating it. So the question as we close tonight is this: how did you come to believe they are so frail and incompetent despite what they show you? They are showing you that they really do know how to handle themselves. Don't they tell you what's wrong with you? Don't they know how to dish it out? Then they show you that they can handle it, and they need to handle it. And we will pick it up at this point on the next program as we continue to look at additional myths of what may be keeping you stuck with a pig. Until next time, I'm John Euler. This is Journey to Healing.
You've been listening to Journey to Healing, sponsored by SurvivorSupport.net. We trust you've been helped by the information our host, John Euler, has shared. To donate to this ministry, schedule a personal consultation with John, or to arrange a professional training for your church or organization with John, simply visit our website. On behalf of Survivor Support, we look forward to hearing from you and to have you join us next time on Journey to Healing.